They say blood is thicker than water. They never tell you what happens when that blood runs cold. My sister, my maid of honor, wore white to my wedding. But that wasn't the worst thing she did. Not even close. The worst part was the secret she whispered to my husband at the altar. A 6-word sentence, delivered like a serpent's hiss. A secret designed to ruin not just my wedding, but my entire life. This isn't just a Bridezilla story. This is a story about how jealousy can curdle into something monstrous. How the person you trust the most can become the architect of your greatest horror. It began, as all nightmares do, in a place of perfect happiness. When Mark proposed, the world felt like it had finally clicked into place. And my first call, after our parents, was to my older sister, Clara. I asked her to be my maid of honor. Of course I did. It was always meant to be Clara and me, standing together. She shrieked with joy on the phone, promising to help me plan the most perfect day imaginable. And in the beginning, she did. She was attentive, organized, a little too attentive, perhaps. Like a detective studying a crime scene before the crime has even been committed. The first crack was almost invisible. We were looking at venues, a beautiful old manor house with ivy-covered walls. I loved it. "It's lovely," Clara said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "A little grand for you, isn't it? I always pictured you having a simpler wedding." I brushed it off. I was so afraid of becoming a dreaded bridezilla myself. I ignored the red flags. I gave her the benefit of the doubt when she criticized my choice of flowers as uninspired, and when she insisted my guest list included her distant friends I hadn't spoken to in a decade. Every Bridezilla story you've heard starts with small compromises. My horror story was no different. The compromises soon became sacrifices. The first real blow came during the search for my wedding dress. I found it. The one. It was a simple, elegant A-line dress that made me feel like myself. We were celebrating at my apartment afterwards. Clara, holding a glass of deep red wine, was making a toast. "To my little sister," she said, her voice dripping with manufactured sweetness. And then she stumbled. The wine, like a spray of blood, arched through the air and onto the pristine white dress hanging in the corner. An accident. A clumsy, terrible accident. That's what she claimed, her eyes wide with fake horror. I spent weeks trying to salvage it, but the stain was a permanent scar. I had to settle for a second-choice dress. A pretty dress, but not the dress. And through it all, I saw a flicker of something in Clara's eyes. A dark, quiet satisfaction. This became the pattern. A series of unfortunate events, all orchestrated by my sister. Invitations to my closest friends from college mysteriously lost in the mail. The caterer being told the wrong date, causing a frantic last-minute booking with a more expensive, less desirable company. Each disaster was followed by her empty apologies. I was living in a classic wedding horror story, and I was the only one who couldn't see the villain standing right in front of me. She wasn't just planning my wedding anymore, she was sabotaging it. And all I could think was, why? I still didn't know the real weapon she was holding in reserve. The secret she was waiting to deploy for maximum damage. The night before the wedding was quiet, eerily so. Clara came to my hotel room. There were no more games, no more fake smiles. She sat on the edge of the bed, her face a mask of strange sincerity. "I'm sorry it's been so stressful," she said, her voice a low murmur. "I just want you to be truly happy, Emily. You and Mark. A marriage should be built on a foundation of absolute truth. No secrets. nothing hidden in the shadows. A cold dread washed over me. It felt like a warning, a threat disguised as a blessing. She was laying the groundwork. She was telling me exactly what she was going to do, but in a language I couldn't yet understand. It was the monologue of a killer, right before they reveal their knife. I just smiled and told her I was happy. It was the biggest lie I told that week. The wedding day arrived under a gray, unforgiving sky. I felt numb. As I was getting my makeup done, a gasp rippled through the room. And then I saw her. Clara. She was in white, a sleek, elegant, floor-length lace gown. It wasn't a wedding dress, but it was close enough to be a declaration of war. It was a stunning act of defiance, a way to scream for attention on my day. The guests whispered. My mother looked horrified. But this was just the opening act. This was the distraction. The true horror came at the altar. I walked down the aisle, my eyes locked on Mark. His smile seemed to calm the storm inside me. The ceremony began. And then came the moment. As Maid of Honor, Clara had to adjust my veil. As she stepped forward, she leaned past me, her lips close to Mark's ear. She whispered 6 words to him. I saw the color drain from his face. I saw his hands tremble. He looked at me, but it was like he was looking through me, at a ghost I couldn't see. He fumbled his vows. The energy in the room died. She had done it. My sister, the Bridezilla, had detonated her bomb. She had unleashed her final, devastating secret, turning the most sacred moment of my life into the scene of a crime. The rest of the day was a blur of misery. The reception was a wake. Mark was a ghost, distant and shattered. The forced smiles, the awkward dancing. It was all a performance. That night, in the silence of our hotel room, I finally broke. What did she say to you, Mark? What did she do? He finally looked at me, his eyes filled with a pain I had never seen before. She said, "I'm pregnant and it's yours." The air left my lungs, the world tilted on its axis. It was a lie, a vicious, calculated, soul-destroying lie. Mark and Clara had a brief, regrettable fling years ago, long before he and I ever met. It was a past he had been honest about, a past I had forgiven, but Clara had kept that memory like a poisoned dagger, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She wasn't pregnant. She never was. She just needed to plant the seed of doubt, to poison our foundation of trust at the exact moment it was being solidified. Our marriage survived, but it was a close thing. It took months of painful conversations, of therapy, of rebuilding what she had tried to shatter in a single whisper. My relationship with my sister, however, did not. That was a casualty of her war, a death with no funeral. Some monsters don't hide under your bed or in your closet. They carry your bouquet. They fix your veil. They stand beside you at the altar smiling while they set your world on fire.